Good evening. Welcome to Midweek Connect. Before we get into our Bible study this evening, I have a few short announcements. First of all, on September 9th, it's a Wednesday night at 6 p.m., we'll be having a business meeting. We haven't had one of those in a while because of COVID, and this will be just a time for us to come and see what's been going on, hear about some of the exciting refreshes that have been going on, and just go over some general business and housekeeping details that we may need to do. More excitingly, on September 27th, that's Sunday, September 27th, we'll be relaunching our Sunday schools. That'll take place at 10 o'clock a.m. in between our worship services. It'll be abbreviated for a while until we're back to normal, whatever normal means now, but it'll be at 10 o'clock before the 11 o'clock service. So we'll be having a 9 a.m. service, 10 o'clock Sunday school, and 11 o'clock worship service as well. So that's our announcements for today. If you have any questions, let us know here in the church office, but also know that you'll be receiving a letter about this information later on in the week. Our psalm tonight is one that, to be honest, I've never really looked at in a great detail. But after looking over it, I wonder why I didn't focus on it earlier. Psalm 131. It's a psalm that I've read before, but it's, I think, maybe more applicable now in this present situation than ever before. And then I want to close tonight, after our Bible study, with a prayer that I think that will be meaningful to us all. Psalm 131 says this: "My heart is not proud, Lord. My eyes are not haughty. I do not concern myself with great matters or things too wonderful for me, but I have calmed and quieted myself. I am like a weaned child with its mother. Like a weaned child, I'm content. Israel, put your hope in the Lord, both now and forevermore." It's a great psalm, one that may be worth putting to memory for us. I want to look at it in a little bit further detail. It's broken into just two sections. It's a short psalm, one of the shorter psalms. We find a few of these towards the end of the book of Psalms. You can look over maybe on the next page and see 134 is equally as short. But 131 caught my attention because it seems to be written, and I have no evidence of this, by David in a later life. This is just my perception. This is just my imagination running wild. And I love this idea that maybe David is older, he's wiser, he's getting on in years, and he's kind of calmed down a bit. All the drama with David early in his life between he and Saul, and even later on in his life, but this seems to be a moment where things are put in perspective. This is a moment where David maybe stops and realizes that he needs to take a deep breath, and has taken that deep breath. Let's read it one more time. "My heart is not proud, Lord." This is a statement of, I'm doing okay. My heart is not proud, Lord. My eyes are not haughty. I do not concern myself with great matters or things too wonderful for me. In other words, he doesn't need to have it all figured out. Now this is not the same thing as David saying, just pack up your brain and put it in a box and never think about deep thoughts, or never educate yourself, or never grow intellectually or spiritually. That's not at all what he's saying here. David is saying, I realize that some things are simply too big for me to understand. I realize that as long as I live, I will never figure it all out. As great a mind as David had, and he clearly had an incredible mind, he realizes he doesn't need to get everything figured out. He can't figure everything out. He certainly cannot figure out the mind of God, or how everything is working together. How many times have we sat through this COVID-19 and tried to figure it all out? Why is this happening? What is God doing? We've even come to conclusion, I think God is preparing us for this, or God is doing this. And some of the wisest words I've read have to do with the fact that just stop. Accept what is going on, and accept that you're not going to figure it all out, and be faithful with what you have and where you're at. Sometimes we can be so worried about the big picture or what is coming in the future that we get lost in the present. And I think David is telling us, I figured out that I just need to calm down. Do not concern myself with great matters or things too wonderful for me, but I have calmed and quieted myself. When our anxiety flares up, when our worry rears its ugly head, maybe we need to read this psalm and quiet ourselves, calm ourselves. I am like a weaned child with its mother. Like a weaned child, I am content. What a beautiful image. This is the image of a woman who has weaned her child from her breast. Mothers that have nursed their children understand that there is a time period early in a child's life where the mother is not much more than supplying food. And there's frustration that occurs because you want to hold your child, but every time you hold that child, it seems that the child is hungry once again. But this is a moment where the child is calm. The child can be held close to its mother's chest without immediately thinking of food. The child is content, just laying there, being there, trusting the mother, feeling secure in the mother's arms. David says, that's the point I'm at. I'm there. I'm at that moment. And this is a great achievement for David. This is a great achievement for any of us. But David has such strong feelings that this is a great achievement that he writes an entire psalm here in 131 with this image in mind, that he is a weaned child, that God is his mother, and he is a weaned child, and he is content in the arms of the mother. It's a beautiful, beautiful picture. I'm sorry I'm getting so excited about it because I think it's just a gorgeous image that I never connected with before, but I think I'm connecting with this moment now. You know, I've been in this situation as your pastor where I'm constantly trying to figure out what's next, what's the plan. And you're the same way, I'm sure. When do things go back to normal? When are we going to start Sunday school? When are we going to have a business meeting? When are we going to move back to one service? When are we? At a certain point, we all must be content. Content to rest in the arms of a sweet, precious God. Find contentment in that moment. And then he concludes, Israel, put your hope in the Lord, both now, in the situation, in the moment, now, and also forevermore. COVID-19 isn't forever. It's the now. But will we equally trust and rest in the Lord when the next thing pops up, when the next event rears its head, when the next situation occurs? Will we continue to trust in Him, both now and forevermore? So that is our psalm for the evening. Let our hearts not be proud or haughty. Let us not consume ourselves with things that are too big for us to figure out all the time. Constantly consuming our minds with things that are maybe too big for us to understand. But sometimes we set those things to the side and rest contentedly in the arms of a loving God and be content in Him. That's my prayer for you. It's my prayer for me this evening. That brings us to our prayer tonight. Our prayer comes from the book that I've mentioned to you over and over again, Every Moment Holy. It's a book of prayers that I hope that you all purchase. It is an important book in my life and has been a great solace for me. It informs my prayers. It gives words when my heart can't come up with the words that I need, and is made for some beautiful prayer times in my life. But the prayer is one that we may have looked at early, maybe back in March or April, the one that I thought went well with our psalm tonight. It's a prayer for those flooded by too much information. So let me read this prayer to you, and I ask that you would join me in agreeing your heart, joining your heart into this prayer. In a world so wired and interconnected, our anxious hearts are pummeled by an endless barrage of troubling news. We are daily aware of more grief, O Lord, than we can rightly consider, of more suffering and scandal than we can respond to, of more hostility, hatred, horror, and injustice than we can engage with compassion. But you, O Lord, are not disquieted by such news of cruelty and terror and war. You are neither anxious nor overwhelmed. You carried the full weight of suffering of a broken world when you hung upon the cross, and you carry it still. When the cacophony of universal distress unsettles us, remind us that we are but small and finite creatures, never designed to carry the vast abstractions of great burdens, for our arms are too short and our strength too small. Justice and mercy, healing and redemption are your great labors. And yes, it is good pleasure to accomplish such works through your people, but you have never asked any one of us to undertake more than your grace will enable us to fulfill. Guard us then from shutting down our empathy or walling off our hearts because of the glut of unactionable misery that floods our awareness. You have many children in many places around the globe. Move each of our hearts to compassionate response to those needs and intersect our actual lives, that in all places your body might be actively addressing the pain and brokenness of this world, each of us liberated and empowered by your Spirit to fulfill the small part of your redemptive work assigned to us. Give us discernment in the face of troubling news reports. Give us discernment to know when to pray, when to speak, when to act, and when to simply shut off our screens and our devices and to sit quietly in your presence, casting the burdens of this world upon the strong shoulders of the one who alone is able to bear them up. Amen. Go in peace tonight.